So our webinar is now streaming live on YouTube, and I have also started recording this session. Great. So I think I can just give a small introduction to both of you, and then you all can take it over. So I welcome Stephen and Dhruva on day one of the third webinar of the Profile Building Webinar Fair. And this is the second round of profile building fairs that we are doing, and students are very excited and energetic as it's just the beginning of the session. So without any further ado, I would like to give it over to both of you to take over the session. Also, students can use the Q&A feature below to ask questions that could be addressed towards the end of the session.
Excellent. And Devika, would you like us to wait a couple of minutes? I know that our official start is at 10 or at the 30-minute mark, maybe the hour in India.
Yes.
Would you like us
Sure.
to wait? We can.
Yeah, we can wait for a minute. Sure.
Excellent. Excellent. Maybe we can get started. What do you think, Dhruva?
Yeah, let's kick it off.
Excellent. Well, let's kick it off then, and I'll share screen with everyone. So perfect. Hello, everyone. I'm Stephen Turbin. I'm here with my other director, Dhruva. I'm a PhD student at Harvard Business School. I'm also a director with Lumiere. And today we're going to talk a bit about the Lumiere Research Scholar Program. Before we dive in, and I'll pass to Dhruva in a second so he can introduce himself, I want to note that if you are interested in getting more information or about learning, we're doing this a bit for us to understand who's in the room. We have a bit.ly link and also a QR code in the top right corner. If you have a phone, you can just take out your photo app and then take a photo of it, and it will link to a webinar sign up form. So we'll have that in the top right corner throughout the presentation. Encourage you to do it. It'll give us a better sense of who is in the room. Excellent. Dhruva, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Dhruva. I am currently a PhD student at Oxford and the other director of the Lumiere Research Program. And I've heard such good things about the students who are part of the Next Genius Foundation, and I'm really excited to speak to you all today.
Excellent. Great. Well, let's dive in then. So today we're going to be talking about the Research Scholar Program. But before we dive into the selective program, which helps students work one-on-one with independent research scholars and developing independent research papers, we want to talk a little bit about why we care about research. For me, one of the big reasons that I care about research is that my life has been really affected, and my family's life has been really affected by the opportunities to type of mentorship. Dhruva and I actually met as undergrads at Harvard, where we were both part of a research scholar program, very similar to Lumiere at the Harvard Business School. When I was there, I met a mentor, this guy, David, who's in the bottom right corner, who became like a father figure for me, really was someone that I admired, I respected. He ended up passing away my senior year. And so in many regards, my work in Lumiere is about kind of giving back, giving that opportunity that I got working with David back to other students. My family's really affected by research as well. My dad's a professor. He became a professor in large part because his father, who's a Holocaust survivor, never got the opportunity to study college. And so he started doing research really to live through his dad's memory, because his dad passed away quite young. And so as I think about the Research Scholar Program, for me, it's a real social mission about making these types of opportunities and this type of mentorship available for students around the world.
Yeah, to give you a bit of background about myself, I think I grew up in a very different set of circumstances to what Stephen did. I grew up in Chennai in South India. I then went to a CBSE school for my 11th and 12th grade, where I studied commerce. And I really didn't know very much about research growing up. We had doctors and engineers in our family, as you do in so many Indian families, but I didn't know anyone who had a PhD. I didn't know anyone who worked in the social sciences or economics. And my introduction to research was really through debating. So I did competitive debating and was on the Indian national debate team all throughout high school. And through that, I got exposed to all of these topics out there about why some countries develop faster than others, why are some countries democratic while others aren't, why are some people better at technology and innovation than others are. Really deep and interesting questions that I didn't even know that as a high schooler I was allowed to be curious about and that I had any ability to make progress on. So interested by these topics, I applied abroad for my undergrad. I ended up going to Harvard for my undergrad degree in economics, which is where I met Stephen, as he mentioned. And I then got to do this research opportunity that Stephen talked about, which was a selective summer research program similar to ours. That kicked off a fascination with research, which continued on. I came to Oxford to do my master's and now my PhD. And so for me, Lumiere is a way of thinking back to when I was a high school student and thinking about what was missing in my life and what would have prepared me better for going into undergrad and getting the most out of my undergrad experience. And to me, that's research and mentorship. And that's what we're trying to make available through Lumiere.
Excellent. Perfect. And we'll be sharing over that that link as well. Again, you can just scan the QR code if you want to sign in for the webinar. Great. Let's talk a little bit about what the Research Scholar program is, so you have a little sense for it, and then I think we'll continue alternating. So the Research Scholar program mentioned is roughly a 10 to 12 week program in which students are working one-on-one with a research mentor. We'll talk in a second about example students, example areas. The quick answer in terms of areas, a solid question, is that it's really any area. It could be in engineering, it could be in sciences, but it could be in the social sciences. It could be in English. So the Research Scholar program is structured such that students work one-on-one. The first few weeks are about them diving deep into a subject. So learning about, what is it that I need to know in this subject, whether it's, advanced neural network techniques, for example, for some students who will be doing work in data science, or whether it is, about understanding what are the real seminal works in a field. For example, if you're studying in economics or in psychology. I worked with a student recently who is this really talented student, and he was interested in strategy and health tech. And so, being that, I do research at HBS, we started by thinking about what are the big foundational things you need to know in strategy in order to do great research. Then the program ends by the development of an independent research paper, which usually ends up being around 20 pages. Throughout the program, it's not just a one-on-one. There's also a community around it. So we have workshops in which you're working with other students and going through being led in the really foundational things you need to know in research. For example, how do you write a research paper? How do you think about citations? How do you approach what it is to write something that's persuasive in a scientific manner? We also have a writing coach who's a really talented professional writer, a Harvard grad, who works with you one-on-one on your independent research writing. So that's a little bit on the program. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, that sounds really clear.
Perfect.
Great. So a very common question we ask is, why do research? And there's two big things that I want to mention before we go into what's on the slide. The first is because research is important. Research is a way for us to understand how the world around us functions and add a tiny incremental bit to making it better by helping explain it in a more clearer way. The second is because research is really, really fun and exciting. You get to understand a topic better. You get to engage with big questions about the world. You get to spend some time thinking about topics that you're interested in. But I also understand that there's loads of things you can do in high school which are interesting and which can make a difference out there. And so the much narrower question that we get asked a lot, which is a very reasonable question, is what role does research play specifically in the university admissions process? And here I'd like to highlight three things. The first is that it demonstrates your intellectual ability in a way that sets yourself apart from other applicants. Anyone can say that they're interested in history or physics. Very few people would have written a good quality 20-page research paper in history or physics that they can then send to these universities as part of their portfolio. So it demonstrates that you have been able to take out the time and energy and intellectual ambition to take on this project. The second is that you connect with other researchers. This is your community of other students who are doing research, who represent some of the world's most ambitious, excited, and intelligent students with whom you can learn from, you can get advice from, you can compare application decisions to. So a community that helps you with a lot of these things. But even more crucially than that, through our program, you get access to a mentor. Our mentors are either current PhD students or researchers at top 10 universities in the US and the UK. And you build a strong relationship with them as you work with them on your research paper. And that means this person becomes a source of inspiration, a source of advice. And if you do well in the program and develop a relationship with them, someone who can even recommend you to go to a university and give you a recommendation letter. So all of that is the value of doing a program where you're part of a community and with the mentor. The final thing is, as some of you might know already, application processes to international institutions involve so many essays, so many interviews, and all of them are trying to get you to say a story about yourself, which reveals a characteristic that's important for university. And research is full of those types of experiences. You learn how to deal with failure because you try to do an experiment and it doesn't work out, and then you have to try again. You learn how to manage your time because you discover that reading papers in a particular week might take longer than you thought. And so you need to move around things to deal with that. It helps you develop your confidence, and you discover that you are now more assertive, you're a better writer at the end of the program. All of these are personal characteristics that you're able to demonstrate through this program to these universities that can help set you apart. So I know, looking back, that a lot of my classmates in undergrad had done research in high school, and I could see how it helped them both through the application process and in those first couple of years at university. And looking back, I think that's part of the reason why I do this, is that I want to provide that opportunity to more people.
So we'll talk a bit about student profiles. I saw a few questions about, how can I apply? How can I learn more? When are the dates? Best way to learn about the dates is just to scan this QR code in the top right corner or to fill out the link, and then we'll be sharing with you details after the program. We'll also talk about dates in a few minutes. And here are a few example profiles. I think these are instructive because they get a sense for what things students are doing. I see some questions about areas. You can see that these areas are quite broad. So anything from economics to business studies to physics or chemistry to sociology. So Avni is a great example of a student who came in with little prior experience doing research, but who developed a really successful research project. So she worked with a researcher in Oxford, Haley, who looked at development studies. And the question that Avni was interested in is, as Mumbai uses its own city policy to address disaster management, how does it include or not include informal workers? So workers that don't fall into the category of working for a company, but might be selling something on the street or might be working as a day laborer. So she did this through a quantitative and qualitative assessment of the words and language that was put into a disaster management policy that was created by the Mumbai city government. And she was an incredible success. I think a example of someone who does something quite different is Asta. Asta worked with Danielle Bloom, who is a PhD in chemistry at Brown. And she was interested in the question of how do these two different approaches to understanding isotopic signatures give us different answers about the age of the universe. In the literature, this is a systematic review type of study. She found that there were really two different camps, and they didn't speak to each other. And so her paper is about bringing up this very important question, which is how old is our solar system, and trying to answer it by looking at the two different camps and bringing them together and synthesizing them into a distinct perspective. And then finally, Lynn, I think, is an example of the social elements of the social studies of sociology. She worked with Aurelia, who's a PhD at Harvard, and she was interested in the Hong Kong protest movement. And she ultimately started researching the visual arts in the Hong Kong protest movement. You can see all of these examples of research are both ways for them to dive deeper into a subject, for them to develop as writers, but also it's quite distinctive for them as they think about applying to their next steps.
And so you've got a sense of some of our mentors from the previous slides. You met Stephen and myself, and you've heard about Aurelia. Caitlin is another example of just the most generous and thoughtful PhD in biological and biomedical sciences at Harvard, who teaches one of students each cohort. And our mentors really represent the top of their fields. They are selected from exclusively top universities in the US and the UK. They're either currently in one of those PhD programs or teach at those programs, and have been selected based both on the kinds of fields they work on, as well as their ability to explain those topics clearly and work with young people as mentors. We are so excited to share them with you, and I think they can really make a difference in your lives.
So I just saw a question on pricing. I think this is an important thing to discuss. We currently offer 3 main programs, and we've been primarily talking about the middle program, which is our flagship program, the Lumiere Research Scholar Program, in which you work one-on-one with a research mentor, generally PhD students or postdocs or junior faculty members. We also offer a foundation program, which is for younger students, all about introducing them to what is research and how can you do it, really preparing them later on for both for IB and also for the Research Scholar Program. And then for a select set of students, we developed the Advanced Publication Program. This is for students who have already developed a research paper and for taking it to publication. And this is, I think quite valuable because publication is a great way for you to legitimize the work that you've done in the world and also share it out to have broader impact.
As you guys have seen before, and in response to many of the questions we're getting, we can do pretty much any topic that exists on the planet. We've got mentors across biology and physics and chemistry. We've got mentors in the social sciences and economics and gender studies and data science. And we've got humanities mentors as well across history, literature, anthropology, and so on. And the cool thing is that through the interview process, we really get a deep understanding of who you are and what your interests are, and use that to match you with a mentor who'd be a good fit. But if you have a very specific interest, say you want to study the neurophysiology of frog brains, and we don't have someone who studies frog brains, we can put in the effort to try and find you a mentor who has that exact interest if you get in touch with us earlier. So look through these. I'm betting that you'll find your interest represented here, but if you don't, shoot us an email or fill out a form and ask about it, and we can get back to you to say if there's a mentor or not.
Yeah, an example of this is math, for example. I just saw a message on this. So math is included, and we just don't have enough space on this slide to also include math. So pretty much if you can think of it, English another, then we likely have a research mentor supporting it. So this is talk a little bit about who is the right type of candidate. So as I mentioned, this is a selective program. And so we are looking for students who represent one of 3 traits. All 3 traits. They're curious, their ability to work independently or diligently, and they show academic excellence. So that's what we're looking for when we're selecting students. For who might this be the right program for? And we think there's really 2 main groups. So one is for students who want to dive deep into something. They might have a real passion about physics or about data science or computer science or psychology and English, like we've seen in some of the Q&A. That's a great way for you to use the program. Also might be something where you get to explore a new area. So if you're interested in, you're studying biology, but you're really interested in economics, you don't have that platform to study it. This is a great way for you to dive deep and really dive very deep because you're doing research in the field. And then finally, though the majority of our students are in high school, we do have students who are in gap years or who are postgraduate students. And so, for those expectations are of course a bit higher for them in terms of output, in terms of input. But just to give you a sense for those students, in general, no background knowledge is required. For some more technical fields, though, like computer science or data science, we do expect some basic coding ability to be a successful candidate.
So what does the application process look like? You submit an application. We'll go over the deadlines in just a second. It's a written application. It shouldn't take longer than an hour, where we try and get a sense of who you are, what your interests are, and why you're applying to the program. You then get shortlisted if you're successful for an interview, where we talk to you about your interests and get a sense of if you're a good fit for the program, as well as what a good mentor for you could look like. We then, after the interview, you receive an offer, you pay the deposit to confirm your spot in the program, you then receive your mentor assignment, and you kick it off from there. So the whole process takes about 2.5 weeks, and you should be ready to go soon.
Yeah. So let's talk about the dates. And so these are just to get a sense for our dates for these upcoming cohorts. We have one that'll happen in April, kind of corresponding with some schools' summer break. We also have a full summer cohort, a fall cohort, and a winter cohort. We just wrapped up our most recent cohort, in which we had in total over 160 students apply to the program. So really exciting. This is just to give you a sense of that. Again, I think the best way for you to stay up to date on cohorts is for you to fill out that form we have. Just fill out the QR code. You just take out your phone, take a picture of that QR code, just hover over it. It'll take you to a link where you can then just fill out a brief information for us to understand who's in the room, and also for us to share with you about these dates, the application, etc. So it's a great way for you to get to know about us. Excellent. So we're going to wrap up here in terms of our presentation, and we hope you guys got a good idea for what the program looks like. Again, I encourage you guys, if you have not yet, just to quickly fill out that form. It'll be helpful for us as we get to know who's in the room, and also for you all to know a little bit about us, and we can share you some more information on it. And I think now we'll just spend some time going through questions. David, is that right?
Yes, perfect.
Excellent.
There's a
Perfect.
couple of questions that I see here, which we haven't answered. One is whether students who are in Canada are eligible to participate. The beauty of this program is that because it's online, you can participate from anywhere in the world. So we've had students from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Singapore, China, the US, all either do the program or apply to the program. And so you can apply from anywhere in the world. We had a bunch of specific questions about fields ranging from literature and math and other fields, and you are absolutely, whether it's finance, math, or literature, psychology, you can work with a mentor in those fields.
So I saw a question on price and on scholarships. I'll just go back to that page. So for the Research Scholar Program, the cost of the program is $2,200 US. We have financial aid for candidates with really demonstrated need, and it's quite selective as to which students receive financial aid. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think the big thing to add is just the reason for the fees is given the quality of the mentors and the structure we provide in terms of the writing coach and the program manager and all of that. And that's what makes these programs really worth the amount that you pay for it.
Excellent. Oh, so a question on is it ninth graders? Yeah, so ninth graders are eligible. We actually had a number of ninth graders who applied to this past program. Oftentimes they join our foundation program, sometimes they join our research scholar program. And so we definitely have ninth graders, and the earlier you can start on research, the better. So we think it's great for that cohort as well.
So we got a question whether we can experiment with different topics in the same area in the first week. So you enter the program with a general sense of what you want to study. So you want to study behavioral economics, or you want to study astrophysics. Within that, what specific research question you're going to do for your paper, you've got a couple of weeks to figure that out. And you get the help of your mentor as you explore different topics within that area to narrow down on what you want to do research in before diving deep into that. So you do get a few weeks to do that. I've got a question about whether this research can be used for the IB extended essay. We have a lot of IB students who do the program, but they usually do the program either to get ready for the extended essay in terms of building the skills that are necessary so that they can truly excel on the extended essay, or to build on the work that they have done in the extended essay through the Research Scholar program, to take it to the next level and make it something that is truly world-class.
I see a question on, I'm interested in biology, but I haven't taken science subjects in school and I don't want a career in biology. So, you know, it's a good question. I think the broader question is, you know, is my background appropriate for researching an area? And the answer is, you know, even if you don't have a deep background area, you can still research in that area, and then we're open to that. I would say for you, maybe you should consider, you know, what would be the right thing to research for you. So it could be biology if you're interested in it. However, if you have other interests and you think they're more in line with your, you know, long-term interests, you might consider researching those as well, or instead. That's just but you can research in an area without having significant prior experience.
Great. A couple of questions here. One was about the difference between a mentor who's a researcher and a PhD student. No, there is no difference between the two in terms of the experience that you'll have as a student, because both of them are experts in the field and will be able to provide really useful guidance to you as you write your research paper. So we set high standards for our mentors. And so once you've met our standards, slight differences in, you know, which institution you're at or which year of the PhD you're in doesn't really affect the experience of the student, is what we found. Also see how many weeks and months the program is for. So the research programs usually run for 10 weeks, so about 3 months.
Yep, I see a question here on whether psychology is included. It is included. We have a number of researchers in psychology as well. So that's definitely something you can do. And I also see a question on sample papers. You know, if you sign up on that link, you will then have the ability to, you know, you'll receive an email from us. You can reach back out to us, and we can share those sample papers. We gave some examples earlier in the talk about some of those papers, but happy to share those sample papers.
The question about the difference between the foundations and the scholar program, which is a good question. So the foundations program is a introduction to research. It says, what is the research process? What's some Lumiere tips for how to read a research paper, given that it can be quite intimidating. And then you'll dive deep into an area, which is a focus area that's been chosen. And the output of that is that you as a student will write a 3 to 5 page research proposal. So that is a background on the subject and what kind of research you plan to do in the area. The reason this is super useful is because if you're younger or don't have as much experience with research, you're then able to get your feet wet and ease into the research process, and then take that research forward either by yourself, in your school, or through our own research programs to continue and build on the skills that you've developed. In contrast, the Research Scholar program is a one-on-one program where you write a 20-page research paper. And so that's something where if you are confident that research is for you and you want to take that on, and you have the time and resources to dedicate to that, and your goal at the end of it is to have a full research paper, that's the better program for you.
I see a question, can you use this research in university application? So yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of the real core advantages and one of the values of this is that research is a great way for you to showcase your ability, your expertise, you know, your strength in working through uncertainty. I mean, research is really quite hard. And so it's definitely a big value add for students in their applications. And we see that all the time.
A great question by Avni, whether we guarantee publishing the paper. And the answer is, if there's any program that guarantees you getting the paper published, you should really not trust that program, because a publication process depends on the quality of your paper, and you have to apply to the journal and try to submit it. And so what we have discovered is that students, we can provide students with a great deal of guidance and advice. So we have identified a number of high school journals which are oriented towards publishing student research, and that students can submit their research to and have a good shot of publishing it there. But we certainly don't guarantee getting published. And we think that there's huge value in doing the program and getting the 20-page paper out of it, even if it doesn't end up getting published.
Yeah. Great. Okay, so you had age and class limit to join this research program. So the answer is no, though we primarily see students in the high school side between 9th and 12th, with a spike in 11th being the modal year. We do have students in university who also join the program, and postgraduate. So there's, if it's younger than 9th grade, I think that would be you'd have to be a very compelling candidate for us to accept you. But we would be open to it, but it would need to be a very, very strong case for a student.
Avni is a great question, which is, if it's not published, then how do you establish it in your profile? And there's 3 ways in which you can do that. The first is that you can describe the process in the paper that you've written through your essays and your applications. So for instance, if you're applying to US universities, universities don't ask you to submit all of the certificates that you have received. So what you do instead is that in your resume, in your CV, in your essays, you describe the things that you have done so that they then understand what it is that you have received. The second is that you can get these projects described in recommendation letters. So either if you ask your mentor for a recommendation letter where they can describe the project that you took on and the work you did, or if you get your school's guidance counselor who writes about the activities you've done to talk about this paper that you have written, those are both options for how you can communicate the fact that you've done this research paper as part of your profile to universities. The final thing is that universities often allow you to upload a portfolio of extra material for their evaluation, which you can submit this research paper as part of. And that's a third option for you to provide that information to universities as part of your profile.
Okay, so I see a question on someone who has, so this person has, some great research experience, and they're asking about, will you be able to, will you be able to write a research paper given that you're quite new? That's a great question. I mean, I think to be clear, the research paper that someone will write, their first time doing research will be different than the research paper of someone who's a tenure professor, or a PhD dissertation. I mean, I think that's important to know, and definitely true. I mean, I think that's absolutely true. Now, with that said, can you develop a meaningful research piece, within this program? And I think the answer is yes. And we've had students who have not done research before, and I think gave some examples earlier, who have created really remarkable research papers. Have they been, again, at that level of a tenure professor? Probably not, but that's a little bit of, that's to be expected. And universities are not expecting you as a high school student to be writing at the level of a tenure professor. What they are expecting is, and what they're looking for, students who show spikes of ability and ways of reflecting that ability. And so developing an independent research paper, whether it's a literature review or independent data analysis, is a great way to do that. And we've seen that be really valuable for students going through the program. Additional questions? If not, I'll just make I think a final plug to, if you are interested in getting more information, feel free to fill out that form. You can either do that by scanning the QR code or by clicking on that research form. Mythology is a subject of research. We have not had students in mythology before, but again, that's an area that we could cover. And then in terms of aid, primarily it's need-based. You have to show, well, it's both need, you have to be accepted to the program, first of all. So that's merit-based. And then need, you really need to show significant need for us to grant financial aid. Excellent. Well, if there are no other, oh, well, here we go. There is non-application fee, and generally you would share your family's income to demonstrate need. And then for those students who apply in the winter cohort, they'll hear back over the next few days. Excellent.
Well, thank you guys. It's been a really great session. I hope you've learned a little bit about the research process and the benefits of research for building your profile regardless. And I hope you choose to take up that research journey with Lumiere. If you have any questions, please sign up through this form here. We'd be happy to talk to you and get back to you on whatever questions we didn't have the chance to answer through this. But if not, looking forward to seeing your applications.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Stephen and Dhruva. This session was really insightful, and seeing so many questions put in, it clearly shows the students are so much interested into it. And yes, we do encourage you all to fill out the registrations so that we can further develop your interest into the same. Any closing words from both of you, and we would end the session.
Yeah, I will.
Yes, Stephen, it's you.
I would just say, here's the website link. Again, encourage you to fill out this form. If you have a specific question, you can also reach out to us here. No, I would just say that for students who are looking to change both their own life and the lives of others, I think research is one of the best ways to do it. It's not easy, and it's not for everyone, and the Research Scholar Program is not for everyone. But we encourage you, whether or not you are admitted to the program or not, to think about research and to seek out research opportunities, because it's a great way for you to change your own life and change the lives of others, of those around you. So a big thank you, and also a big thank you to the Next Genius Foundation, which has done an amazing job again at helping students out as they think about their next steps. So I think that's it on my side. I've shared that information below. Please sign up through that form. It's a great way for us to see. A lot of students have already done it. So if you have not yet, just join that cohort of a lot of students who have now signed up. So it's an easy way to do that. And then we'll go from there.
All right. Any last words from you, Dhruva?
No, good luck to everyone, and stay safe.
Stay safe, both of you as well.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.